All right, we're gonna go live now.
Let's go.
Fuck yeah, bitches, we're live.
Are we?
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Can you guys hear me okay?
What an
Yeah.
intro. What an intro.
Oh,
Fucking
Wow.
soundboard
dude, the
effects.
sounds. I love it. What the fuck?
Dude, you are Howard Stern. Like you you have just become him.
I just want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that everything is working well. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So
Your sound, your voice is very sexy, Mitch. I love it.
I know. Thank you. I know. I know. I don't know whose voice is sexier, mine or yours. I think
You know
yours.
those Eastern European accents. They're all super hot.
Dude, I haven't been talking to you since like forever. I think last time we were talking, it's when we went out in Irvine, right? Or
Was
like
it or
a
one of the
Costa
Ghost in the
Mesa?
Shell meetings? Like which one of those?
Um,
I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think you're right. It was Irvine lunch with I think with Jonathan Berug was there, Anthony Johns. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, and then we went also for dinner with. Oh, were you with us on that dinner with
I
Fausto?
think there was one dinner I missed because
Oh
for
yeah.
some stupid
Yeah,
reason
you
I had
decided to be
missed.
like, oh fuck
So
it, I don't want
regret
to
it.
meet with Fausto and Aaron Beck and
No,
all
dude.
the other savages.
Stop it. I will never forgive myself, dude.
Dude, it's so awesome. All right, I mean, we've been live since like a couple of minutes, and
Nice. All right. Hello,
uh,
everybody.
yeah, and this man doesn't need any introduction, I would say. Is that correct? Is that the right thing to say? Um,
Who you're asking?
Vitaly, and Andrew. Can I just say that Vitaly, you just really don't need any introduction.
Stop it,
Anyone
dude.
who's here should already know who you
You're,
are.
you're
And
too kind.
if you don't know who Vitaly is, you should fucking leave and maybe unsubscribe from this channel.
Wow,
Joking.
dude. Thanks.
Not worthy.
Thanks
Yeah,
so
you're
much,
not
dude.
worthy
Appreciate
to
it.
listen to this if you don't know who that person is. No, dude, I've been always fond of your work. I remember when you released the Black Phoenix, and I saw it. I was like, "What on earth is going on here? What the fuck?" I was so excited to see that stuff,
Thanks,
dude.
man. Thanks
It's,
a lot, bro. Like seriously, coming from you means a lot. You've been a huge inspiration for me. So thanks a bunch.
That's so much bullshit.
You're too kind.
Dude, the fidelity of your work is like, I always been like, what the fuck? How did you, and what even, and like, I don't even understand. Now we're actually seeing that thing on the screen. Is that, I'm assuming a lot of it is CAD, or this specifically was self-imaged?
I opened this one. It's a Black Widow spider tank because it's kind of a combination, I guess, of all three favorite workflows. It's got some CAD, it's got some ZBrush kind of a free form
Right.
sculpting, and then it also got some sub-Ds. I opened them all like subdivided models, so it's a bit slow in the viewport. Yeah, just thought, just to keep our eyes entertained while we're talking shit.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I wanted you to paint something, but
Oh,
it's not
dude,
gonna
let's
work.
go. Tell me paint a horse and I'll go jump off a cliff because I can't paint, dude.
No, you're a savage though, dude. Yeah, we haven't been chatting a lot recently. You've been always busy. You've been always, it's funny because like anytime I was trying to get you on Art Cafe or even get you out to hang out and get a beer or something, it was just like, oh, I'm busy.
Dude, last year and the beginning of 2016 was a bit kind of insane. It was kind of a great lesson for me. Then don't try to bite more than you can chew.
What do you
And
mean?
that's
Like,
why I had this kind of a period. It's like I couldn't do anything. So I think I'm slightly wiser. I'm still a fool, but like slightly wiser. I don't do as much.
yeah.
So it's better that way. I think like I'm more productive, healthier, definitely. And so yeah, I'm very happy to be here tonight. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Are you
I've
trying to
heard a
say it's
few-
not healthy to work on 5 projects at once?
Yeah, I'm working on 4 right now, but it's more paced and it's
Right.
way.
It's only
It's
4
not-
projects. What the fuck?
Yeah, but it's not like full time. It's very
I know.
kind of scheduled and regulated, and we can talk more about this stuff. And it sounds like a lot. It's actually not that many, and it's healthier, much healthier. Like I sleep 8 hours. Like I feel great. It's been good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, overworking yourself is the worst thing you can do. Especially when you're at your level of skill. You're basically so. I would consider yourself to be a leader of hard surface design in the industry right now. I don't think I know that many other artists out there that can produce the quality that you're producing.
I'm sure there's a bunch that just don't post it. Like there are a lot of people just like,
I don't know. I mean, there's one person that comes close to you, but it's still
okay, stop it. Thanks,
still
man.
not there that I know of. And that person obviously is not posting much. But otherwise, you would hear about those people. You would definitely see those designs online, and you don't see them. If you don't see them, they don't exist. That's my assumption.
Dude, I'm telling you, like one of the most humbling experience was working with Boston Dynamics. I saw some of their CADs of their engineers. Those are the most badass 3D modelers. Like seriously, if you think you can 3D model, like you just open one of their like hydraulic pump or like something like this, that shit is insane. It's all CAD, and it's just as a cherry on on the cake. Like it's a freaking functional robot. Like so. I think like so far from what I've seen, those have been like the craziest models I've seen. So it's insane. And like those people, they never post any of this. I mean, you see like their engineering awards on the walls and stuff, but they're always in their labs, and you can't see any of that stuff online. You only see the final product. So and there are a lot of guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, in engineering, it's definitely there's a lot of people like that, but it's still different. What they do is more. I guess you have more experience in that too, because you've been fucking building mechs, like real mechs. um,
I
but
haven't finished yet, but I think
but in engineering, there's everything is done towards it's more done towards the function and making sure that it's actually going to work rather
yeah,
than the design itself. And what I was implying here is more of a design aesthetic aspect to it. And I really respond to that because it's one thing to see engineering, CAD models and be really freaking excited on how they look and like how amazing this works really look, and knowing that all of it is functional, right?
yeah,
But um, but if there's no design, there's no excitement about it. It's like I think a great parallel is looking back at Apple, early days of Apple, or the time when they started to release. I think it was Mac 2 or Mac 3, the one that was like a monitor and a computer in
oh,
itself.
that's
It
right.
was this
Yeah,
very very colorful looking thing, and when Steve Jobs were having conversations with his engineering and design team, he basically settled on a design that he liked, and then what he said to engineers was, "Fucking make it happen. I don't care. I don't care how you're gonna do it. Just make it happen." And what it does to technology, software, hardware, whatever that is, it's pushing the boundaries to achieve something new, something else that everyone else would consider it's not even possible to do, right?
yeah,
I mean,
totally,
if
man.
if everyone would be if the industry would be driven by engineers only, then every computer would look like an old PC, basically. Like you would never have iMacs, you would never have tablets or anything like that. When
Yeah.
iPad was released, everyone was laughing at it, like, "What the fuck? Like tablet? What? Like what? It's not a laptop. Doesn't have a keyboard. Fuck that shit." But at the end of the day, it's like right now, it's one of the most popular devices that is out there. Seriously. So, um, you know, I can I can tell just by looking at how industry, just even computer industry works, right? You could tell that design can drive industry in that directions that you would never imagine they would go into, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Uh, I think that's how I started working in the product field without actually being an engineer and really understanding, really having in-depth knowledge about the function.
Mm-hmm.
Because in certain cases, I would be like, "Oh, guys, I don't really know how it works." It's like they're like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. If you make it look good, you're gonna challenge the engineers. You're gonna inspire them." I'm like, "Really? Come on, that's bullshit. You really need to know that, right?" So there's a healthy balance there. But I
Yeah.
totally agree with you that we live in this, and I think part of the consumer economy and the world that we live in, it's also partially to blame because we're kind of this total constant chase of novelty, right? And as a consumer, it touches kind of like three aspects, right? The first, the function, like is this computer faster, right? But then also the ergonomics, like a little smart ideas that in terms of usability, and then also like, does it look good? Does it make me feel happy when every time I turn this thing on, right? So I
Yeah.
think this now we're in this kind of a interesting kind of bridge and cross section of different fields, right? We have a whole new generation of uh, CEOs and top executives that grew up playing video games. Man, come on, like Elon Musk was playing Quake competitively, right? Like when I
Yeah.
think in SpaceX, and actually that's where we met. I think the first time with you, Mache, you took me on a tour to SpaceX. Thanks again, by the way.
I
It's
didn't
freaking amazing.
I didn't take you on a tour to
I mean,
SpaceX.
you
I just
helped me
had
organize it.
connections. I
You
still know some
still,
people there, so
sure,
that's
but
the
like what
only
I'm
reason.
saying is that
You should thank Simon because he was the
Simon, if you're listening, thanks so much, man.
he's
It was
not,
one of the
but
most.
I'm gonna try to get him on this podcast. Actually, it'll be
Oh,
fun to
please
talk
do.
with him.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what I was saying, like if you get like people like Elon Musk playing games, and we get people who drive technology and how that technology works, looks, growing up, being avid players of video games or like in even just science fiction movies, then of course we live in a time where things will eventually look different, right?
yeah,
In terms of like what does aspiring design even means, right? So yeah, I think it's a good time to do 3D and design or 2D, any sort of art media. I think it's a good time for sure.
yeah. I mean, if looking at where the industry is going, I can definitely tell that being a designer and being a good one, or at least aspiring to be the best in the industry as a designer, is a path to go because what it's gonna get you is stability. If you do, I don't know, if you decide to do UVs or things that are very technical, but not necessarily creative or design related, that's the things that will slowly become a past. I can give you like it's funny because like everyone, like when you look at software, for instance, when you look at, let's say, Uber, right? You have an app, you have this service, it's fucking awesome. It's basically pushing taxis away. It's cheaper. People that drive Uber are way nicer than taxi drivers and all that stuff. And people can make a living out of it. I think
Yeah.
there is quite a lot of people that live in Sacramento, for instance, and they commute every day down to San Francisco just to Uber because it's so good to actually do it in Silicon
Oh,
Valley
nice.
because
Yeah.
everyone is fucking taking Uber over there, obviously. But just recently, they've announced, Uber've announced that they're gonna have autonomous cars. They're not gonna have drivers in them. You can basically call in autonomous car that's just gonna drive you around to the right place without a driver in it. So that alone is like a small industry that just raised up and is slowly
Yeah.
starting to die because everything becomes automated. Things that can be done as a regular labor are basically going away.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting what you said, the fact that when you're doing 3D, when you're doing art in general, something creative work is gonna get you somewhere until they're gonna create AI basically makes things better than we do. So
Yeah.
which can eventually happen, but wouldn't be surprised. It's kind of scary and fun and interesting at the same time
It
because
is.
I think you're at my age or around my age as well. You were born in, and actually you yourself, especially you're from Eastern Europe as well. So uprising or upbringing is pretty similar to mine, yours actually, and the funny thing is that you've experienced a lot of same things that I've experienced, and that is being in the place where there was no internet, and then like slowly discovering what internet really is when it
Yeah.
started to expand from America to Europe and then eventually to Eastern Europe. getting to know like art, 2D and 3D, and seeing Craig Mullins and all that stuff. Regular phones, the rotary phones, and like everyone had fucking zeros in their phone number. You were like, fuck that guy. I don't want to call him because he has zeros
Oh
in his
yeah,
number.
dude, those phones. I remember that.
Or seeing
I think
first.
my parents still got one. They
Really?
have like two, and one of them, I think they kept one of those. Of course, nobody uses that, but it's a nice prop, very hipster-like.
That's so
Funny.
funny. Do you remember seeing first cell phones in the school?
Oh yeah, dude. Only
Like the
gangsters
brick?
had a cell phone when I was in school, dude. If a dude had a cell phone, that he was a gangster, dude.
Yeah, it was a
You don't
mafia.
want to mess with that guy.
Fuck yeah. Because like
Seriously.
everyone's so poor around, like whoever had money usually had some mafia ties.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I got my first console to play. At the time where like there was a PlayStation 2 was already out, and I got my Sega Mega Drive 2 or something to play like Mortal Kombat 2. That I was collecting medals on the street and just
Yeah.
scrap metal. That's how I made money for my first console.
Damn. I remember having my first Amiga 600. Dude, I
Oh,
was bowling there because I was like one of few people in our neighborhood that had a computer. So it's just
damn,
like,
bowler.
fuck yeah, it's a bowler. And
Yeah.
I think I got it for like a birthday or some like one of the significant things that happened in my
Nice.
life was just getting that. I was so fucking happy, dude. But what I'm getting
I
at is
bet.
just like the amount of things that changed over the last 20 years, it's just like so immense. Like even thinking about life 5 years ago, about what we had 5 years ago versus what we have right now, the amount of convenient things that you get from life, whereas Amazon, YouTube, like even fucking YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
YouTube
it's
didn't
surreal.
exist 10 years.
Accessibility today, just it's surreal. And it's
Yeah,
funny how quickly we get used to it.
yeah.
It's like it's almost like we always had it.
You used to have a dial-up internet connection. You would be so freaking happy to load
Yeah.
an image that would be loading for like 20 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, image
Oh, dude,
loading.
my first freelance, I was still in Moldova in my technical university. I didn't have internet where I lived, where I was renting a room,
Uh-huh.
and I would take those floppy disks, and like what the small square block, whatever they call like a floppy disk. It was a 3-inch or something,
Yeah, yeah. It was
and I
5 inch
would
and 3 inch later on.
yeah, and the first freelance for like a game I was working on, I would send it to like underground internet cafe, would just export like as OBJ and zip that thing and would send it, going there, paying like time to use the internet. So like the communication was only, at specific hours. It was very interesting.
Yeah, my first internet was going to internet cafes, like going
Yeah.
there and connecting and browsing forums and be like, oh, fucking, this is exciting. But I think my first internet was dial-up when I had it at home, and then there was a guy who got like really fast internet, so he started
Mm.
reselling it to everyone, or like
Oh, nice.
fucking putting illegal cables everywhere.
Of course he
Just
did.
like, and
Entrepreneur, man.
depending on what time you would log in, it would be either really fast if everyone's sleeping, or
Yeah.
really slow if everyone was online. So it was like funny times. But the amount of things that changed, right now you have Amazon, you have fucking, I don't know, YouTube, all the streaming services, all the art schools, self-driving cars, iPhones and other phones that basically are your GPS, computers. Like a phone itself right now is way more powerful than really good computer 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
it does everything for you.
Yeah,
It's
that's
pretty
crazy.
much does everything for you. It's your camera, it's your camcorder, it's your fucking food ordering service, it's your nanny, your fucking, I don't know, workout tracker. Like there's just so many things you can do with a phone right now, and GPS, and you can even dive with some phones, which is kind of crazy too. And
Yeah.
just like thinking how things gonna change in the next 20 years, that's gonna be interesting too, because right now, as you said, like we're getting used to things very fast, and we really it's really hard to appreciate those things when they're already here. Like once, like I'll give you a good example. My phone stopped working for a day. Like, I had some
Yeah.
problems with it. I felt like I lost my hands basically.
Oh,
It's
I
like
bet, dude.
what am I
Don't
gonna
know
do with my time
what to do
now?
with yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah. What the hell am I going to do with myself right now? Right now, without a phone. Yeah, it's kind of powerful. So it's gonna be interesting what's gonna happen in the next 20 years, especially from artist perspective. Like seeing how VR is expanding, and now like looking at VR, I'm
Mhm.
asking myself whether that's going to be even a thing because AR is right around the corner too, and
Yeah.
that can supposedly be something even more exciting than the VR itself. I
Yeah.
think there was what was the name of that Microsoft thing that they're doing? Not the HoloLens. There was something else that is basically AR, and the way it works is it's basically image projected straight
Right,
on
right,
your
right. Yeah,
retina.
I don't remember what it's called. I think, and yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but basically the whole concept is that there is a device somewhere in the room, like that you were in the room or maybe in the city or somewhere. If there's this device that operates that thing, I don't even remember how it's called. Um, Basically, what it does, it's projecting an image towards your retina, and
Mhm.
it scans environment to find your fucking eyes, and then project images to your eyes. Um, and I think the demo they were having a demo on the side where there's like a huge whale emerging from like a basketball court, and then like splashing the water. There's like a little girl sitting on the lying on a bed, and like she sees like a little dancing ballerina in front of her. That kind of stuff. It's so trippy because apparently the way this device works is exactly what you see in this video. It's just obviously
Mhm.
video is a VFX, um, but the whole concept works exactly that way. So it's just like imagine like sitting in a. I was having this idea. I was talking. I think it was on one of the previous art cafes where you have Pokemon Go, for instance, right? Imagine
Right.
where you have games where AR is projecting attachments or things in the environment that don't exist, and you see them, and you can play without looking in the phone. You just walk around and talk to yourself, basically.
Yeah, that's kind of the ultimate destination for all of that. Hopefully, when we get old, we'll get to play games like that because that
Yeah.
would be interesting.
I
That would
think it
be a
was
whole different
Magic
society.
Leap. Someone Adam mentioned Magic Leap. I think that's what it is.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's what that was.
Boy.
Dude, what got you into CAD? I'm curious.
Dude, that was a kind of not very linear journey that I didn't really plan. So what happened is, so if you like kind of a quick detour, right? So my
Yeah.
initial background, right? I started in video games quite some time ago, maybe like 12 years ago, doing 3D modeling, right?
Yeah.
And slowly progressed towards like using like 2D and 3D to do concept art, and then eventually like tools got good enough, and you could develop a workflow just using 3D for design, right? And so that one of the mechs, the Black Phoenix project, the ambulance mech,
Mm-hmm.
the guys at Intuitive Surgical, which is a surgical robotics company, I think they saw it, and I think they saw some of the ideas and like combination of like the aesthetics and also just some practical ideas there that they liked the thinking about it. And at the time, I was working on Transformers. I was at ILM, and I was already finishing the project. And the director of product development, he invited me to just come over to Intuitive Surgical just to check it out. And I think he might have even listened to Ash's podcast, and I think he heard that my dad is a surgeon, and he was like, "Dude, just like come over here. Like this is how the 21st century surgeries are done." And I heard something about the Vinci System. When I heard about it a long time ago, I thought that was kind of a concept. I didn't know that this actually exists for 10 years. There's
Yeah.
been companies that they use that. And for people who don't know, basically, uh, imagine, so this robot, right? It's a system that's got like I'm talking of one of the products, got like 4 mechanical robotic arms that are remotely controlled by a surgeon through a set of what
Dude, you have to
kind of
slow
looks like
down with
VR.
that. You have to slow down with that slideshow.
Image.
'Cause
Too
it's
much?
Too
fast?
It's too
Yeah, I
awesome.
don't know how to make it slower.
Yeah,
Okay, you
make
know
it
what? Let me
slower.
just go back to the story. So basically, so I went to check out the surgical system, right? The Vinci system, and what it does, like instead of opening a patient open, like his chest open to do the surgery, right? What you could do is to just make small incision points where, depending on the instruments, it could be 8 millimeter radius or like 12 millimeter, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And one of the incision points get injected with a stereoscopic endoscope, and the other 2 or 3, depends on the procedure, could be injected with a small robotic arms. And the tip of those arms, they end with a so-called anti-wrist that got the same degrees of freedom and the same dexterity as a human wrist, except they're even better because they're so small and they can reduce the shakiness in the hand and everything. So basically, this is really the way of making the surgery kind of like, this is the future way of making a surgery, right?
Yeah.
And when I check out the system, like actual they have like a training facility with like kind of a model of a human body, and you see how precise it is and how intuitive the motion is. Like I was really blown away by the fact how just precise and awesome that is, and the people that work on it, they're really just geeking out on it so much. Like they're like, when you work in the art department on the movie or on the video game, and people really like what they do, like in terms of just jamming on ideas and brainstorming all kinds of crazy stuff. The same you get with engineers, except they're making something that is actually good for humanity, right? And as we had this conversation, I started to just kind of brainstorm some ideas what you could do, and almost as a half joke, their director said like, well, why don't you just make a concept for that?
And you were like, fuck yeah, I will.
And I was like, sure. And I came back after the tour and I made this arm, robotic arm that was supposedly do that, but that was more so they sent me what they wanted to be like, but they wanted to try like a different visual language, and I did something quick. It was like under 1 day, and I sent it to them, and they instantly offered me a job. It's like, hey, don't you for us? And I tried to explain, hey, this is what my strong sides, but this is the things that I don't know, so I will have to figure it out. And by that, by the things I didn't know, I meant like, okay, if I do something, how do I give it to engineer? They can't open an OBJ file. And that was like 3 or 3.5 years ago, or almost 4, I don't know. So as I started working with them, at the same time, I also started doing some freelance for Intel, doing kind of the same thing. And my colleague at the time at Intuitive Surgical, he showed me MOI 3D, which is a CAD modeler, very simple one compared to like SolidWorks, where you can make a very complex assembly of parts and calculate everything from weight and cost and everything, right? So this was just the CAD modeling, but the guy who created it, I think his name is Michael Gibson. He's really kind of a genius programmer, but also with artistic mind, and his whole mentality for that software was he even called it moment of inspiration. When you feel inspired, you have an idea, you can just open the software and you can sketch out a CAD model, or you can make something quick. Yeah. And when I tried it, I really liked it because it felt a lot like XSI, soft image XSI to me.
Right.
By some reason. For some weird reason, it felt like a weapon, very kind of click-clack, precise, and just CNC'd out of metal. Like I really liked the feel for it. And because I had to do some CAD while at Intuitive Surgical, I think I went through the threshold while the software was still kind of new to me. And it becomes really just easy for me to use. And that's how I started using it more. And then after working like for a year and a half, I think, or less than a year and a half at Intuitive Surgical, I went to Intel. And I kept using that, but I still use like sub-D modeling, and I still use ZBrush. It's just from that moment on, it's the whole new world of possibilities for design opened up. Once you start doing CAD, even if you do this just for entertainment design, just the way you do design. And I know you already use that, like you use Fusion 360, right? Yeah. And based on like what you do, you already really like it in terms of just the tools, and I heard you really love it and it's badass work. So
Yeah,
I, yeah,
it's a
thank
little
you.
different than Moi.
Yeah.
It has a different philosophy behind it. I feel Moi feels a little more organic in a way.
Mhm.
Like it feels you have more possibilities to create more organic looking things and more organic looking shapes.
Yeah,
Um,
you definitely can. You can do a lot of stuff there.
and
Yeah.
I know I was talking with Eden Guraziu, and he was showing me like how much things you can customize in that software. So that was kind of impressive thing to see. The only drawback that I saw there compared to Fusion 360, and I guess it's just a matter of being really used to using something and knowing it, that you
Yeah.
don't really want to change after you do that. The only thing was just like those little quirks and little things that kind of weren't so intuitive, or like for instance, one of the confusing part for me was that when you build something, you can't really tell whether it's a surface or a body. Like you have to connect surfaces; they have to be connected first to create a body. Or like I want to move something and it doesn't move the whole thing; it just moves the one of the surfaces. It was just like kind of frustrating to get things connected and then do
Mhm.
booleans. That might have been also older version that I was using. Whereas, for instance, when I was using Fusion 360, I could tell right away if something is a body object or not, because it was just even
Just more
labeled
friendly,
properly.
like it's really
Yeah,
software friendly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
felt it felt
It's
super
got
easy to
certain
get into.
things in MOE. It's got certain things that at first they might feel like a disadvantage,
Right.
but then as you progress, and depending on what you do, they actually feel like they feel right. Like you
Yeah.
understand they weren't random decisions; they were intentional for like specific. And now
Gotcha.
I'm been doing certain things. I've been doing parts that have to be very precise.
Mm-hmm.
So like for example, I would get like the servo motor, and I need to design a casing for it that would be like made out of carbon fiber, and I would need to make sure we use all the space that we got, like without sacrificing the range of motion. And it's
Yeah.
been kind of really tricky for me. And because you like all the supporting the guiding system that you make in Moi using snapping tools,
Mm-hmm.
that stuff is really strong. And at first, like I really kind of didn't like it. I felt like it was slowing me down because it almost like it makes a comma sign. It's almost like imagine you make the sentence and after every word there is a comma.
Right.
Like it's almost like kind of messing with your flow, right?
Yeah.
And at first I didn't quite get it. And maybe this is somewhat similar to what you had. And then as I started doing more just precise stuff, and I there's also like community is pretty amazing in terms of just like reading and checking out tutorials or just like documentation on all the commands. And because you can customize it all, you can really just change it all.
Yeah.
Like the software is written in HTML, so it feels like it's still. I think it's still growing as something that hasn't reached its potential. And I feel like if let's say more people start to use it, it's gonna definitely become hopefully more friendly. Let's say like Fusion, because apparently Fusion, I think it's a bigger teamwork than it, right? I don't know,
Yeah.
but I
It's
would
it's a
imagine.
new child of Autodesk. They're really
I
putting a
see.
lot of
Yeah. So
chips into it. Yeah.
okay. So it's not just like, let's say, one man that carries out his vision.
No,
It's
no,
more
no.
like
There's
trying
more.
to reach more people, right? So yeah, I would imagine it would be probably different. I still want to spend some more time with it because I only spent maybe like a few hours in Fusion,
Right.
and I liked it, and I felt like, dude, if I spend more time, it would be kind
Dude,
of
why
fun. But
don't you
yeah.
join one of our streams? We're gonna have Curtis Chan, who's the evangelist of Fusion 360. He knows everything about the software, and we're
Oh,
gonna have
sweet.
him on Twitch.
When is that?
We're gonna have him on Twitch stream for
Okay,
Learn Squared. I just need to check my calendar when exactly we've scheduled that,
that'd be
and
awesome.
if that time works out for you, you should definitely join us. It's gonna be me and Ash on that stream, so it's gonna be a lot of fun, dude.
That'd be great. Yeah, yeah. Please let me know.
The
Yeah, I will.
27th.
27th. There you go.
Yeah.
It's on 1 p.m. right?
No, it's 6 p.m.
6 p.m. All right, 6 p.m. 27th. Check
Okay.
check if that works for
Yeah.
you.
All right.
I'll send
Yeah,
you an
I think it
invite
works.
to it.
Right now, it kind of works.
Oh, then put it in
But
your
nothing-
calendar, and it's
nothing
gonna
comes
happen.
up. Yeah. All right.
Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. I can tell you. Stop messaging me, Andrew, because I didn't disable notifications. What I was about to say. Oh yeah. when I saw your Black Phoenix, right, that stuff you did, it's like how in the fuck he did all those details, and then I think we were talking about. I think I was bugging you with like tons of questions, and then eventually figured out you were doing like Moi 3D and all that stuff. And I think I also had some conversation with Gavril during that time, and jumped into Fusion. And that's how I started doing that as well. I can tell you that you've inspired me to go CAD,
Oh man,
and
awesome. Thanks.
pretty much for 99.99% of hard surface designs that I do right now, for anything, is done in Fusion. I've designed fucking. You've seen some of the stuff that I did for. We've been working on this together on the Ghost in the Shell. Yeah.
Fucking amazing, dude. I was like, all right.
Ton of it was.
You paint like a motherfucker, now you do stuff in CAD. All right.
You know what was funny? I'm gonna give you a funny story. It's not spilling any beans, but dude, you are a fucking workhorse. Anyone who works with. For anyone who doesn't know how fast Vitaly is, he's probably the fastest fucking guy on earth. And anytime I'm working on the project that, like with you, I feel so embarrassed because like I'm gonna send like 1 or 2 renders of something that I've designed. Like, yeah, that looks awesome, and then you send like 20 fucking renders of something that's like 10 times more complicated. I'm like, fucking hell, you just made me look like an asshole.
Dude. Stop it. And then the other way, like I had to do some environment stuff, and I would send one freaking room, and you sent like 20, and they're all amazing in the lead. So balance. I think it's
it's just like for some of the directors and production designers out there, it's just like they just like. Yeah, you cannot compare anyone to Vitaly because he's just like he's a beast mode. He's an absolute savage.
Thanks.
Yeah,
man.
dude. You've I mean we've been on a couple of projects together now, like
dude,
quite
we
accidentally.
on some of the canceled big shows, dude.
We've been on Tron, and that was canned. That was fucking a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ghost in the Shell coming together, so hopefully that comes out and we'll be able to show some work.
Hopefully, yeah, that was a fun project. I'm still doing some stuff with them, like kind of a late VFX.
Oh, nice.
First shot kind of design stuff. So yeah,
that's awesome. I remember you were the first. You and me were actually first people on the show. Do you know that?
I think I heard, but I didn't think about it.
Yeah, you and me were the only artists that were from the very beginning till the very end on that show. Yeah, that's kind of impressive.
Better be good then.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, better be fucking good. If not, I'll be really sad. Really sad. Yeah. Dude, what have you been up to recently?
So I've been.
Is there anything you can talk about from the things you do these days?
I actually at least can mention that. So I've been trying to split my kind of working week, keep going at the entertainment design while doing most of the work for product design, right? So like industrial design. So my main kind of ongoing project has been that mech, the large man robot with Korea Future Technology, which is a South Korea-based company. And that one has been quite an incredible journey because of the, they pretty much let me do whatever the hell I want there, which is incredible. But also, like, I need to work with engineers, so I really need to understand the constraints and limitations and whatnot, right? So it started like they let me to do a lot of early designs, and now it's just CAD to make the stuff that we can actually build. So this has been kind of one continuous project for the past quite a while. And the other time I've been working with Boston Dynamics, and my role there is way less involved. So it's just kind of a shell, like exterior shell pass on one of their bipedal robots projects. And you might have seen one of them, the Atlas.
Yeah.
So like I work on that. I
Oh,
did
I'm
the
just designing robots. This is pretty insignificant. I'm just
but
making
dude,
shit
like
look awesome that people are just fucking
that
masturbating
that
to.
stuff, like I didn't really do much on that one because like they already worked out everything, and I just did some shells on top to cover and like up to their specs for like the clearances for the range of motion, and again like the
Right.
style. Like it's not that much. Like I feel like what I need to do, let's say like with career future technology, that one is way more difficult and more involved. So this one, it's not as involved, but it's an amazing project, like awesome learning, and feel very lucky to be working on that. And the other time, well, as I mentioned, I still do some stuff on Ghost in the Shell, and also working on the Battle Angel,
Oh, nice. You're
which
with the Lightstorm crew then.
yeah. So Ben
Awesome.
Proctor, Dylan Cole, it's been amazing experience. Like those guys are incredible, and yeah, so that's kind of been ongoing project as well. And funny enough, like you asked like about the stuff, but I feel this kind of a split helps me to really just cross inspire two different fields. So per se, when I work on the entertainment project, like if it's a game or film, I'm trying to ground it more in reality in terms of function and just to try to make the stuff make more sense, right?
Hmm.
And when I work on a product, I'm actually trying to make it a little more crazy than you would usually do, just because I know at the early stage, if it's a concept design stage, of course, then you'd rather go crazy first and then rationalize, because eventually the reality will hit you so hard you'll have to really redo everything. But when you start and working with engineers, if you can make something to just feel them pumped and inspired even by your energy and like the effort you put into your work, it feels like it comes back. Like that's how I
Right.
think you mentioned already Apple, but I feel like if you really have that sort of front end vision for an idea, and it might not be the same, it might not look like in your concept art drawing, right? But it might push the thinking, right, about the problem in a certain way that it would inspire the tech people working on this, and maybe you will meet somewhere in the middle. Like I had this experience in working at Intel, where so I work at Intel at NDG. It's a new devices group. It's this part of Intel that specializes on wearable tech.
Hmm.
And I would have this uh, thing when I was deliberately asked to sometimes push certain limitations just a little bit, just enough to see the benefit of better design versus the limitation. And just to kind of speak less in abstract term, imagine a watch, right? And imagine that you need a certain thickness to it to fit all the compartments, all the tech stuff and that stuff, and in the case.
Yeah.
And per se, we go like, you would have to be 12 millimeter, but when it's 9 millimeter, it looks so much better, because
Right.
like you get better proportion. Now you can really chamfer that, so it's gonna look even thinner, and then you split it with, like, let's say use like a rubbery material and then a polished aluminum, and now it looks really slim. And you do both. You would make one up to the spec, and then you would make one that's a little push in technology, and that way you really show, here's what we can do, but look how beautiful that would really look. And I think this sort of experience really helped me to feel the value in concept design.
Hmm.
And in general, like, and I feel like in the future we'll see a lot of that stuff. And by a lot of the stuff, I mean like people going from different fields and doing back and forth from like video games to product design, and hopefully it's gonna just make the whole tide go up. We'll make the
Yeah.
games look better. The products will be more exciting and less like just sterile and things like that.
It almost feels like with the advancement of hardware and software, um, you're less of a specific artist, let's say 3D artist or texture artist, environment artist.
Mm-hmm.
We all become more of a generalists, where software becomes so easy, where you can learn it really fast
Yeah.
and be proficient with it and use it for your work, and to a point where some of the tools that you learn, they're so well streamlined that it can be used, whether it can be used in film, or even video games recently, you know,
Yeah.
especially like how much more polygons video games can push, that you don't have to limit your poly count that much, or you still have to for consoles, but you know, it's growing and growing and becoming more possible to use higher res characters. I guess great example would be, you know, even looking at Uncharted games,
Oh yeah, that looks
like
amazing.
I think
Okay.
the head itself from Uncharted 4, like Drake's head,
Mhm.
has more polygons than the whole body in Uncharted 3,
Oh shit.
just to give you an example. And so it's like constantly and continuously growing. Like when I was working with you on Ghost in the Shell, and I just can't wait to show that stuff. But I would create stuff in CAD
Hmm.
and send the files, and they could basically use it in production. Like they would print it out or
Oh
mill it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's a huge advantage, I think, for entertainment industry,
yeah,
especially.
and that's almost like you're stepping into what set designer role really is. So I mean, you had Scott Schneider, who's a set designer in film, and we were discussing like how close illustrators these days are getting to what set designers do, and how really those two roles start to cross over and create like this more cohesive, more productive entity that basically makes films happen faster
Yeah,
and with less resources. Let's put it this way.
yeah,
So it's kind of
exactly. Yeah.
interesting. And what I really admired about yourself, and I had this. I think the first time I spoke about it was a couple of years ago when I had my talk over at Art Institute in San Bernardino, which is, by the way, available online if you search it. It's like 4 hours talk.
Holy shit, I need to listen to that stuff. Damn. What's it
Just
called again? Say.
it's Art Institute San Bernardino. If you Google that with my name next to
Okay.
it, it should be somewhere. It should be. I think I even have it on my own profile,
Nice.
my
Yeah, I
YouTube
need to
profile.
check it
But
out.
what I was saying there is like when you're becoming an artist in the entertainment industry, especially, is that you can be either a 1-2 percenter, which means that you're so good that you're getting work and everyone wants to hire you, or you're going to be the 98% of what, you know, like if you go on main page DeviantArt, you know what you see there. It's like so much average. Like it's just really, you know, um, those artists are not going to get hired. Those artists have to look for work, and that's basically how it looks in the entertainment industry right now. You're going to have certain percentage of really good artists that are basically like everyone wants you because you're so good, because they know you're delivering the quality. And I think I don't know if I was saying that during the talk, or I was mentioning it later. You know, there's only going to be one Vitaly. There's only going to be one Mike Nash. There's only going to be one Fausto, and then people just going to copy that, and there's going to be like, you know, Vitaly babies out there, basically, you know, using your photo bash, your kit bash elements and building their own stuff. But it's never going to be the level on which you're working on. And what I really admired about your work, specifically yours, because I believe you're top 3 or top 4 designers out there that I really fucking look up to, because you've always been pushing the boundaries. You've never been settling into like, oh, I'm good at this. This is fine. I don't need to move any further than that. Anytime I talk with you, I'm like, my mind is blown, because you're mentioning things like, holy fuck, you're doing this now? Oh shit, the thing that you just posted, you did it 4 years ago? Like, holy fuck, fuck, like,
Thanks,
fuck,
man. Likewise, dude.
fuck.
Likewise. Same goes to you, man. Thanks.
So when I hear that, it's getting me really inspired. I think it was a conversation you had with Ash, actually, during the collective podcast. You've mentioned something that really resonated with me, and I think with a lot of artists as well, is that, you know, whenever you expose yourself, whether you're teaching or releasing assets, and like you did with your kid bashing, for instance, right? You're leaving some of your legacy behind, and you're exposing yourself to an idea that you're not in that comfortable spot anymore, where like, oh, only I can do this and no one else, and it's gonna be awesome because I'm so special. No, you're just like putting, this is done. I can move away from that because I've already done that. I've done it for so long that I don't need to repeat myself over and over and over. Now it's time to
hard to
move
do
on.
because like you're making yourself, if you feel vulnerable in the same time, but you know this will naturally force you to come up with some creative new potential to fill, and it's always hard to do, and but only kind of like you only in retrospect you understand really the value of it. Like looking back, I realized like there's so many opportunities I would never be able to even to be able to work on, because if I would just try to like, oh, this is it, like I'm only gonna do this and that's it. So yeah.
Yeah, you have to push yourself. You always have to push the limits. You always have to find something new to learn and improve, because if you're just gonna stay in one spot, you know what happens when you stay in one spot for too long. It's just like you wake up and like, holy fuck, everyone moved on.
Oh yeah, you're either getting better or worse. You don't stay in the same spot. I don't think that even exists, right? So
yeah, that's true. I think someone was asking on the stream, and we're gonna go into questions, but
nice, yeah.
We're gonna go into questions really soon, but someone was asking about books, and I've been fucking spammed by Ash recently, and he told me specifically to talk with you about the Mastery book.
Oh yeah, dude, that book is incredible. If you get an unabridged version, like an audiobook, like I think it's 16 or 17 hours.
I just started listening to it.
Yeah, it's really, really good because, you know, like I know you like books, Ash, and, you know.
Yeah, we constantly share them together. Like, I mean, even with you.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen that? No. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, like instant to add to read list. But like with this book, what I liked about it feels very thorough study. What does it exactly mean to acquire skill set, and then what to do after? Like what do you do with a skill afterwards, right? And it's sort of like a great recollection of existing stories and also a theory, like a very in-depth theory. What does that mean? What experience of that particular, let's say, scientist of his life could mean for you? And I think at the end of the day, the biggest kind of value of it, it's really to break things down into kind of actionable steps, something to take off the pressure and the sense of overwhelming, you can say, anxiety of like, okay, what do you do next? What do you do now? Like, and at the end of the day, it really helps to find, to come to realization that you only need to develop your own voice. And because like, and there is something I heard, it's from another book, but also I liked, it says something like this. It's envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide.
Right.
And it's like, it's like, if you think about it, it's so true, because like everybody's got their own different potential, and you only want to be the best version of yourself, and understanding you got your own set of life experience that no one else got. That means you have this niche just for you to do certain things that you want to do. You just really need to work on understanding what that thing is, and then apply very, very disciplined approach towards getting good at that stuff, right? And that book is just so in depth on that. Like, it's pretty fucking crazy how many things are covered. There's no stone left unturned. And funny, like I posted, I finished it I think like 2 days ago on Sunday. 4 days ago. So I finished it this weekend. Just like listen to the remaining like 7 hours or so. And when I posted on Instagram a recommendation about this book, a few guys, and if you're listening, thanks a bunch for a recommendation, because there's another book they recommended, also called Mastery, but from different author. So this one I'm talking about, the big one, it's from I think Robert Greene, and there's another one from George. Oh my God, I forgot.
George Lucas.
George Lucas. This summer. No, it's oh my God, I forgot. But like, there's another book, smaller, Mastery, and George Leonard. Yeah, and he was like a black belt Aikido master, and also like a fighter jet instructor. Like, so, and that book really goes in depth in dealing with plateau. And I think that, like, if you need to read, you really want to read both of those books.
Sure, I'll try that. I will not try. I will definitely do. I already started the first one. I'm on the second chapter right now.
Oh,
So
nice. Are you reading or are
Mhm.
you listening?
I'm listening. I mean, I don't have time to read. I wish
Yeah.
I had. I listen to those when I go for a walk or to the gym or something like that,
Yeah.
where I can just place it in my headphones and enjoy the sort of
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah,
it.
same thing. And the thing is, like, for the second book, I couldn't find an audible, so I had to read it. And
Right.
dude, that book is awesome. It's like, we talk a lot about like, oh, this is set your goal, be clear, achieve, and like work hard. And the other book, it talks more about uh, how to appreciate the inevitable plateau.
Mm-hmm.
And like it does it in such a graceful way that you really get to kind of enjoy your daily routine, even if it's something you've done like a million times. And I think especially if you're in today's world of being kind of overly informed with what everybody's doing, it feels like there's just so much stuff going on. It feels like you never have enough time to do what you want to do. And the other book, it has more of like a calming effect on just like, dude, just focus on daily practice and enjoy the practice. It's like being on plateau is a juice of life in a way, because that's what most of your life will be made of.
Yeah.
And if you can't enjoy that, then you're missing out on life altogether. And
Yeah.
like looking back at all the kind of tougher years of just developing and like building portfolios for career and all that stuff, I realized like, yeah, that's very true, because you just enjoy doing what you do, and eventually you will get kind of a through this threshold of learning that you can actually produce something with your voice in this, So yeah, 2 books, definitely a must.
I'll try it. Have you tried Good to Great
Oh
book?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, yes.
it seems to be very similar. What I liked about Mastery, at least from the first chapter that I read or listened to, is that it's a very scientific, almost a historical sort of breakdown of exactly every talking point. It's just like it's driven by examples. It's not like anecdotal evidence. It's really scientific approach to why and how. Very much like Good to Great. Like when you listen to Good to Great, there is nothing there, like any of the points that are made in that book, they're based off 40 years of research, like throughout
Oh yeah,
research of the industries, like every single industry, not just one specific idea or one specific thing that just happened to work to support your talking point, which a lot of books that I've noticed do that they just like conveniently find one thing that works for the book and then ignore hundreds of others that
yeah,
are
just to
quite
support the
contrary,
thesis,
right? Whereas this one is just like, how can you even argue with 40 years of fucking research, where
Yeah.
every single way, regardless whether it's a technological or software boom or whatever the fuck, like, there are certain principles of how you should run the business in order to make it successful and what you should not do ever when you're running a business. And it's based on any industries with like so many examples, and how it's just like to a point what's failing and what's really working and why. And it seems that the Mastery book is very similar in a way. It's at least the way it starts. I can't wait to get it done. Get it
I feel like
finished.
it kicks in maybe on like hour 4 when you realize that it's also can be very personal. Like I
Yeah.
like Good to Great that it really can help you to set the right mentality for the business development.
Yeah.
And this book is almost like, hey, how about we talk really in depth, just your personal journey, like you as a craftsman or like an artist or as an author, whatever you set your mind to. And it's almost like there's nothing uncovered on the book, and nothing like no stone left unturned. In a way, it's like, okay, well, I remember that I had this plateau, or I remember there was this problem. It even talks about like social dynamic when it's like, for example, if you have a mentor, and then at some point, how do you develop your own voice?
Yeah.
And like there's so many things that are just practical. So yeah, totally. And that book now makes me want to re-listen to Good to Great, because I think they do correlate a lot.
Yeah, I've read that book 4 times, or listened to it 4 times. It's
Damn.
literally that good. It's so awesome. I'm probably gonna end up doing the same thing with the mastery book because I really, from the very beginning, I love what I hear there. You know, it's just like I really want to have a almost scientific breakdown of why your arguments are making sense. Like
Mhm.
if you're backing it up with data and with a proper breakdown of, you know, most prolific minds and how those minds work and how things are basically, you know, laid out in their heads, and
Yep.
then you can find the parallel of that in your own journey. That's what really resonates with me because, like, for instance, I was reading that book, or reading again, fucking listening to the audiobook. I can't remember the name of it. Was Compound Effect. And as much as
Oh,
I
dude, I
loved,
think you guys recommended me. You
yeah,
recommended me. Yeah.
as much as I love that book because the way it's written, the way it's read by the author, it really gets you pumped. Like you really want to be creative and really do something right with your life. It's really for just motivational stuff.
Yeah.
It's perfect. The only thing that that I found frustrating is that some of the assumptions of the book, and it's, you know, the book overall is really good. I would
Yeah.
still recommend to read it or listen to it. But one of the things that was really frustrating is just like a lot of things are anecdotal. Like they might work for you, but might not. You know. Whereas when you listen to Good to Great, and as I'm listening to Mastery, it seems like it's just, yeah, it is what it is, and you cannot even argue with it.
Mhm, mhm.
It seems that way. It's funny as you mentioned about plateaus and, you know, personal journey. The truth is, and you know that as well, is that you're never gonna be on the steady sort of linear, um, you know, a progression where it's always gonna be, you're always progressing, you're always doing better, and always everything is happening awesome, and you never run into any problems or plateaus or anything like that. Um, the reality is it's almost like a bell curve, that like a oscillating curve, like it's always ups and downs, right? You're gonna have those moments where you're really having a breakthrough. It's like, fuck yeah, this is finally working. I'm getting into 3D, everything is coming together, this is fast, this is great, a lot of work. And then it's just like months later, it's just like, fuck, nothing is working. This is crashing. Like fuck. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get this new software. I don't get that. I can't find motivation. So it's always gonna be ups and downs, and it's never gonna be just this one constant thing. But the great thing about those books, when we talk about them, and when you really try to apply the ideas and knowledge that are in those books, is that it gives you sort of like a blueprint how to improve, even if it's just a percentile improvement over what you do daily. That percentile over time will compound in a way that you can't even imagine. You know, it's almost like saving money. Like you might think like 1% of your savings, it's not really that much, but you know, maybe for first 10 years you're not going to see a big difference, but next 10 years it's just like fucking, how in the hell that $1 turned into 100,000, you know?
Yeah. Same
It's
with the
just,
practice, you know.
yeah,
Same like
exactly.
if you just develop a natural kind of a very quiet joy for daily practice, and this is your part of your ritual, it will be a compound effect for sure. Like, dude, I was reading today, so from this smaller mastery book, right? And and the he had this paragraph about, I think, like a really awesome golfer from like 70s,
Mm-hmm.
uh, who basically his whole kind of approach to how he did golf, because he had a very high consistency of like winning tournaments and whatnot, right? So, and he would say like that it's 50% visualization, 40% setup, and only 10% it's a swing. And if you think about it, like it's so appropriate to, let's say, how you do design or art, whatever, right? It's because you're visual, like how you visualize what you're gonna do. It's a big part of your practice, because this is basically a free practice hour that you get without even being in front of a computer, right?
Yeah.
And then your setup is like, okay, do you have a good software? Like, do you really know the software? Do you have a powerful hardware to really go fast when you need it? Things like this. So this is your part of your setup. And only 10% is when you sit down and execute it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
agree with that.
yeah,
There is also this thing, you know, when you visualize something and you sit down and you think you're ready and it doesn't work, you're getting
mhm,
frustrated. But if you're going back again to the idea, why would you read those books? Like, it's a waste of time. I would rather practice, you know.
Yeah.
But the small blueprint, the idea on how you should conduct yourself to be more productive or to find answers that you might not find necessarily yourself, is that in the event, in the moment where you sit down and you face the problem that you don't know how to tackle,
Yeah.
once you get like at least a hint of what can be done, it creates that cycle, that, you know, snowball effect. Or like, all right, if I fix this little small thing and I start to understand how this works, from there it opens up more gates. Oh, this is how it works. Oh, so I have to look into this thing next, and then after that there's 10 other things that are in this nice linear path, and then it just like starts to expand and expand, and you get more knowledge and more ideas, and, you know, and more answers. And that's how you find the answer to your specific problem, by just you know, applying those techniques and applying it's I know I talk really vague here, but you know, when you have a blueprint, like for instance, let me talk about this book. For instance, you said it was Essentialism. I think that was one of the books that you were.
Yeah, I also really like that one. That one
yeah.
was Jonathan Berube. You know him, right? Like that was
Yeah.
that he recommended that book to me, and I really liked it.
And there was one more, Eat That Frog. So if you
That one is a
combine,
classic.
yeah, if you combine those two books, which basically say this: focus on 2 or 3 things in your life that you really want to do, and then everything else is really low priority. And the second thing is start with the hardest part first and get that solved. And once that's done, then move to easier and easier tasks. And if you really start applying that logic to everything you do in your life, you'll find that there's nothing out there that is too difficult to be done.
Yeah. Great.
Yep. So
Amen to that, brother.
amen. We can stop here.
Amen to that.
Fucking go home now.
Hope everyone convinced we need to read books.
Yeah, you should. Everyone should. That's the way you learn. That's the way you progress. You know, even if the book itself is not really related to art itself, a lot of the ideas apply to how you solve problems in art as well. You know, because it's just like, you know, software. It's really just technical issues, and even finding design language and finding your own style comes down to the same thing: the practice and having the right mindset to the practice. You know, finding the right solutions, finding the right references to look at, or even just challenging yourself with things that no one else would be looking at. You know, like one of the reasons why I never look at ArtStation or DeviantArt or any other art forums anymore. I just stopped. Like, it's just, I don't really need that. It's a big bias to your work. Whenever you look at someone else's work, another artist's work, what happens is just that it's just like you're gonna end up doing something similar, even if you don't want to. Somewhere in your subconscious, you will remember the imagery that will just get you inspired, and you're gonna do something similar. It's not gonna be anything new. So I try to look for references elsewhere, and whether it's fashion or, you know, even just like weird fucking psychological religious stuff, where you look into things that normally you would never think could apply to art at all. It's just finding those weird small subject matters that can be applied into your art itself, to the art itself. I had a great experience working with John Gaeta when I was working on Jupiter Ascending, even though the movies turned out to be really shitty. It was one of the best experiences to have, because John basically tackled my mindset to look into references completely different than I used to before. When, you know, if I was creating, say, an armor, like a, you know, sci-fi armor or something like that, I would be looking at, sci-fi armor, Google fucking cyberpunk robots and shit like that, and you would usually get the same repetition of language that has basically been there for ages and used by everyone, and so everything looks pretty much the same. No, like with him, I would look into bugs, into fucking close-up a microscopic close-up of ants fucking
Awesome.
asshole or something like that. I don't know.
Love it, dude.
And it was like really challenging experience. It was one of the first sci-fi projects I was working on too. So it was just like a perfect sort of segue from everything else that I was doing, because it really challenged the way I would be looking for references, you know, and you rarely get that chance to be challenged by someone who's really smart. And if you cannot get that, then try to, you know, challenge yourself with something unorthodox. And even just reading books, like the book itself can give you ideas. Like, what if I do this? All of a sudden, it can give you that idea, right? What if I start looking at, you know, underground life, like some bugs or some snails and some shit, like into like really microscopic view, and that gives you an idea for environment art, you know? Why not? I mean, you can find so many ideas in nature, whether it's patterns or functionality or anything like that, you know? So, yeah. Exciting stuff.
Very, very
All right, dude. Let's get to some questions. I know there's a ton of them for you, man.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot. The first one's from Eddie. He says, "Hey guys, Vitaly, I'm saving money to do a 6-month sabbatical to work on my environment concept abilities. Do you have any advice or something that you recommend for sabbaticals?"
Yes. Hey, Eddie. Well, first of all, it's fucking awesome idea. Congrats. This is great. I would recommend start with a shorter sabbatical, because if your first one will be 6 months, it will make you feel like it's a lot of time. And my first sabbaticals were like 2 weeks. It's when I was back in Russia working video game. Like my very first one was 2 weeks, then it was 2 months. And this will help you to iterate and understand your how you manage your time personally. And like, for example, like for me, it was a lot of things that came kind of a new, like for example, like I had to, before starting planning my day, I started with logging the day just to try to understand where exactly I waste my time. And like I was able to find like few items that I didn't have to do per se. And if I feel I have a lot of time, I feel like it's almost like it's a big budget project. 6 months is a lot of time. And I'd say give it a warm up, give it like 2 weeks, but don't really tell anyone that it's like, oh, it's your sabbatical. Like treat it like work. Like if you stay home, but treat it like work, get up at the same time, plan your day carefully, and really try to use this, let's say 2 weeks as a sort of kind of a test to learn more about yourself, because everybody's different. And everybody's got their own way of thinking and their own way of kind of getting in the zone when they're both relaxed and focused at the same time. Because that's kind of the state you want to be. And if you can stay in that state like for a long period of time, that it's great. But yeah, I just give it a try, give it a short one, see what kind of lesson you can learn for yourself. And keep the log of it. Like keep a document. Like I always have a Word document open for my daily like goals and priorities. And if you give yourself, let's say 2 weeks at the start, really look into the discrepancies between what you expected and what really happened, and kind of give yourself a retrospective once you're done with a 2 weeks period. Because I think this is where all the gems are to really understand certain kind of things about yourself. As I said, like everybody's different, and certain things work for some people, certain things don't. So I think if the sooner, the faster the iteration is for that kind of a self-learning process, the more scalable it will become on a longer period of time. Because like 6 months is awesome. Like you can totally change your career for 6 months if you do it like very kind of strategically, and you're prepared for it. So just like, imagine you have to start a business and someone just drops a $20 million on you. Most likely you're not going to be very efficient with that amount of money. But if you start, let's say, with 20,000 first, or even like 1,000, and you need to survive on that and make a profit, you'll really establish the foundation. And again, Eddie, I don't know, like what's your, for example, your current sort of status on your personal journey, like towards mastery of like efficiency. And so maybe you're ready. I really don't know. So take everything I say, please take with a grain of salt. And at the end of the day, do what you think is right. But if you haven't done something like this before, maybe it's a good idea to start with a smaller. I think that's it. But good luck, man. This is awesome. I'm very, very excited to hear that.
You should add to everything you say. You can add allegedly, and then you're legally sound.
Allegedly, yeah. So you can take it to court.
Yeah, allegedly.
Alleged.
What I would add is, have a goal for your sabbatical. Like, know exactly what you want to do, and once you do that, then treat it as you're about to win the $1 million lottery if you do it right. Yeah, it's super important. Everyone is different. I can agree. Like, if you don't really plan ahead and take a lot of time off and like just treat it as a time off just to learn new things, what's gonna happen? You're just gonna be on YouTube and Facebook and playing games and not really progressing because like, oh, I still have a lot of time. When you really treat it as a job, that's a little different story.
Yeah.
It
and
requires
you can also, Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, while you were still on Facebook, you could use the apps. You can block your Facebook.
Yeah,
so it's like only works, let's say, on Sunday afternoon. That's it. Like you can totally make it easy for you to kind of solve this constraint. That's all.
Yeah,
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. No, it's just like it's really difficult to be productive. Like force yourself to that level of productivity and keep it consistent. Because there's always going to be vices and distractions that will just make your life like, I can now. Perhaps you can take a nap or watch some TV. You don't have to do that. No one's paying you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always a trap like that just makes the time you take off to learn something can turn out not to be worth a while because you're just not having a structure. So having a really good structure helps, and really forcing yourself, like even if it's really uncomfortable, it's like, fuck, I'm making my life a mess or making my life really difficult for myself. Where you should. I mean, that's how you're gonna learn. That it's like with workouts or and progression in general, that you really start to progress and make leaps in the way you become better at specific thing, like whether it's you're learning modeling or whatnot, is when you're struggling the most and you're trying like a madman to find an answer. And the amount of failure, the amount of things you're doing wrong along the way, and even if the answer is really simple, what it gives you is the satisfaction of finding the actual answer and making a progression and finding, okay, I finally figured out how to do shaders or a skin shader, and now I can use it in my work, and now I can improve it, and now I can make it even better, But the struggle and the fucking failures and hundreds of renders that went wrong and trying to find the right setting by just changing the numerics by 0.01 in the fucking shader tree that has hundreds of nodes, and you're frustrated because every time you have to re-render hundreds of times and it takes forever to see the results. That's when you progress, because you just like, you're building yourself that resilience to keep going even if it's uncomfortable and nothing works,
Yeah, man, agree. Well, another thing you could also do to see if that helps, you can find yourself a buddy that can hold you just accountable for whatever the goals you have. So you can give yourself, per se, like a goal for this week that is realistic but also challenging enough, and your friend can kind of keep you accountable for that. So that could also help you to kind of fight those temptations and distractions to spend time that doesn't contribute to achieving that goal.
You can ask Andrew, how much should we give one another at Learn Squared meetings?
Mostly just me.
Oh, you would wish to see my private chat with Ash. It's just like fucking bombarding me like,
you suck.
Pick it up, you fucker. Stop being lazy. How many times am I gonna tell you that?
We got a bunch of questions that were asking about like when and how you got your start in the industry. I'm not even going to attribute it to one person asking it because pretty much everyone asked it.
Oh, nice. Sure.
So like, how old were you and how did you get your first gigs?
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I started before even making any money out of doing modeling and stuff. my brother was working into like an internet cafe, and I was making maps for like Half-Life, Quake 2, Counter-Strike later on. And that was pretty much my kind of a first being exposed to 3D. And in school, which is like a post-Soviet Union type of like public school, we had technical drawing. I think when you're like 15 or something like this, you just do that. That's kind of what you do at school. You like draw details at like machine parts and like 3 different angles and not perspective, like isometric views, but basically that was at the time, I think around 15 or 16, when I realized like I kind of like something that has to do with 3D. So I was already doing that by the time I finished my high school. So I think my first kind of local jobs, didn't pay anything, but there was a good start to do. It was like kind of very shitty version of our local architectural visualization. So that was, and I was ready to do anything, man, like to that could pay, basically. And because we didn't have anything like this in terms of education in my country, I thought, you know what, maybe I could get something related with computers. So, and because I was somewhat good in math in school, I went to become a programmer, which was a total fail, right? Like 2 years after trying to become a programmer in university, I was already doing like freelances, doing some of the modeling. And the way I started, it was kind of the same way you do today. Like you model something, you post it online. And I did a lot of, like I would model like a truck, trying to make it very close to a real truck, you know? And I would do like 50% like fantasy stuff, like armors and swords, and like 50% more like mechanical, just trying to learn as much as I could about modeling. And funny, like at the time, I couldn't get a job as a modeler because potential employers would laugh at me that all I could do was modeling. Like you had to be like a generalist at the time. Like it was like, hey, what about the animation and this? I'm like, I don't know, modeling is hard enough for me, so I only do this for now. And it was like, I even remember like, it was almost like a point of humiliation where like this chick comes out and she was like this, I'm going to use your word, Mitch, allegedly this awesome local like animator and everything, like she could do everything. And she's like, no, you will never get a job just doing just one thing. I was like, all right, sure. So, but I kept trying, and I started doing more characters. And that was kind of the beginning of the so-called next gen. I think when it started more of a kind of a freelance friendly in the overall industry, which was like 2004, middle of 2003 already. So my very first, I think it was like online browser-based Russian RPG game where I was doing like swords and helmets. Like it was all very fantasy. And the thing was like about that project, they didn't separate concept artist and 3D modeler. There was like a 3D artist. Hey, we need a 3D artist. So, and you get a task. Hey, we need like 5 swords and this and that. Just do that. And it was basically no direction. Like I would just do that. And they either say they're total shit or they accept it and you get paid. And if they don't like it, you don't get paid. Like, so your hours that you work, you don't get paid. It was an awesome experience. So this is something I think I was 17 or 18. But then when I went to university, I had like a first experience of actually doing a more of a professional work in terms of like how it was treated more seriously by the employee. And it was the first freelance doing the models for expansion pack of the first person shooter called Fear. And there was some other games that never got made. So I think that was the start. And that's when I think realized I really just enjoyed doodling with 3D, like just like doing 3D modeling. And from there, it was after 2 years in university, I decided to quit. I got a job offer in Russia and moved from Moldova to Russia to work in a science fiction film that was also never got made, but it was a good experience nevertheless. And then I went to work in a game, an MMO game, also in Moscow, while continue working on my portfolio, and also started working with American companies that do video games and like models for them. So essentially it was mostly modeling with a little bit of kind of a filling in the blanks for concept design. And but my day job was doing a lot of concept and also a lot of 2D for costume designs and armor designs and weapon designs for the MMO that we're working on. So essentially, I had two jobs at the time. That was around, I think, that was from the end of 2006 till 2008, beginning of 2009. That was like I would have two jobs, like one normal hours in the office and the freelance afterwards. And that was very difficult. But I think that was also kind of how I was able to pack more practice hours and like
Yeah.
you essentially you pack 4 years of practice in 2 years.
It's the best thing.
Yeah, yes, and that really helped. And when I think at the end of 2008, I got a job offer at work at Blizzard. So looking back, I think like quitting university was actually a very smart thing for me to do, because by the time that
for sure.
my classmates graduated, and I already had like 2 years, I think, experience, or like 3 years actual working experience, and then got my job at Blizzard Cinematics. So it was a very good. It turned out well. I didn't know at the time. I think it's a lot of luck, and I just got lucky to meet a lot of people, but also work a lot. So it was, I think, a mix of both. And from there, like after 3 or 4 years at Blizzard, I started doing more and more 3D design, using less 2D and less paint over, and just like doing more 3D as my primary media for doing design stuff, and started doing some first product stuff. There was a company called Red. They do camera. I did some work for them, and then did stuff for Oakley. I didn't know any CAD at the time, but I really felt like just passionate about trying to push the aesthetics towards something that is both futuristic but also practical and realistic, something that can be done. And that's when Robocop happened. So I worked on the Robocop reboot, and then later Transformers and the Terminator. And kind of from that on, I wasn't ready at Blizzard. I was doing a lot of freelance, and I think the other part of the story I kind of already explained at the beginning. That's how I started doing CAD. So yeah. I hope this somewhat in a convoluted way covers.
No, it's good. It's a good breakdown, dude.
All right, thanks.
For sure. All right, so I think we have time for one last question, and I think it would be good to wrap up with like, how do you manage your time daily? Nilberto asks, how do you manage your time daily, and things like work time and workouts and freelance and personal work, and basically keeping track of everything that you do beyond just your main jobs.
Yeah. So yeah,
a lot of people were curious about sleep schedules too, for what it's worth.
So my sleep schedule got much better. I think for the past year, I do not sacrifice my sleep anymore. Like it used to be terrible, and now it's always 8 hours. And on the weekend, I can even sleep like 9 hours. And it used to be very bad and not very healthy. I feel like if I don't sleep enough, I'm less productive. So I think that sleeping schedule is important to keep it consistent, and also getting enough hours. And you can still get you can still get stuff done. And I feel like I haven't sacrificed my productivity by not sacrificing the sleep time. I'm somewhat of a, what's it called, like an owl vampire schedule. I like working at night and go late at night and to bed. I work from home, and that helps me a lot by, kind of setting my schedule that I can get up late and just work from home, right? Also, some of I work with South Korea, so like their schedule is very different. So sometimes we would have like a Skype meeting for work, like at 1 a.m., right? And it's totally fine. Like 1 a.m., like US time per se. So I think if you read any book on time management, right? So the foundation, I feel, is the same for me. Like I do exactly the same thing, like by the book, just trying to setting the priority, do the hardest thing first, the most important things first. Like any task, you usually can break down in what are the 3 parts, like the component of this task that would make 80% of results. So the Pareto principle, like 20% of effort would create you 80% of the work, right? So I usually try to start with that. And the basic idea how I setting my schedule, like an actual list, like a schedule that is written down, is I try to deconstruct every project, every task, into as many simple actionable steps that you can't possibly mess up. Like even if it's something very simple, it's like you need to run some errands. Like I would write like, okay, 10 minutes to prep for driving, then okay, 15 minutes for the drive, then 15 minutes to buy the thing, 15 minutes to come back, and like, okay, and I would try it all right. I would write it all down, even if it's not work related, right? And I think was it Richard Branson who said there is no work time and life, or like working. Sorry, so I think he said something like there is no work time and play time. It's all lifetime. And I think once you treat it like it's just your life, you don't separate work from life. It's just life.
Just live your life.
Just live your life.
It just happens that sometime you work and sometime you sleep and sometime you spend with family. It's still part of the life, though.
Yeah, and I think that really helps. At least it helped me to set my kind of mindset right, to not stress out that you sometimes don't pack everything in one day, because there are things outside of work that you also want to be doing. Yeah. Especially like after you've been practicing and doing the same thing over and over again for, let's say, like 10 years, you want to be able to just set things in a way that you enjoy your day. So I always keep a log for my goals for today, and I always write them down also on my phone because it's just accessible. And sometimes, so let's say if you're in the gym and an idea comes in what you want to do, or like adjust how you want to do it, I can just write it down on my phone because it's just accessible, right? And I have this thing that I would call like a list, and then a master list, and then plan, and a master plan. And the difference is that the list is just everything I want to do. So per se, if this is a project, and there is so many things you want to do. And by project, I mean literally anything that has a beginning and the end. Like if this is just a simple design, that will take you 2 hours, like something very quick, it's still a project, right? If it's something big that takes 10 years, it's still a project. And at least I would write down everything I want to do, like no constraints. If I would have infinite resources, I would do that. And this unfiltered list becomes a master list, which is something I would just make a more like a realistic take on what I can possibly realistically achieve, right? And once you have this master list, you can give a micro deadline to each step, to each component, like each mini task of that list. And then I just work from that list. And I think the biggest challenge always is to just stay on that list without being distracted, right? Unless there is an amazing opportunity to do something that wasn't in the list and it's going to make it better. But usually that doesn't really happen. Like I feel, at least for me, I'm very bad at like multitasking. Like if I try to multitask, like I just
it's more
suck at
task
both jobs.
Switching than doing everything at once. Yeah.
Yeah, I really can't do this. Like I can't even listen to audiobooks or like podcasts while I'm working. I can only listen to like familiar music per se. Like I can't distract. I don't want to be distracted, right?
Same.
So like for example, like because of that, I really try to give myself this chunks of like a blocks of time that will be uninterrupted. And in between them, I would schedule mini breaks. And the way, like your willpower is just a muscle that if it gets fatigued and it gets tired, it will just die off, right? Like you will burn out. So you don't want that. And I've tried to kind of treat my day the same way where let's say I have a 90-minute uninterrupted session working, like, let's say on this leg right here, like on this design right here. But then I would schedule 15 minutes.
The screen has frozen.
Oh, the frozen screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything. I was just showing like per se, like this is what I'm working on for the next 90 minutes. And for next 90 minutes, I have these specific goals. And after that, I have 15 minutes or like 10 minutes of mini break. And I wouldn't even give myself a goal for that mini break. I can return a phone call. I can go check out my email, or I can go check out Pinterest, whatever. But I know for that mini break, I shouldn't be working and just walk around, do something else, because that will give me the energy back. That would relax my willpower again. So sort of planning your mini breaks is important, I feel. Like I used to do this when I would have no mini breaks, like when I would just work. And this is like the one route to like getting burned out. Like if, I can do, let's say 2 days working 16 hours a day, do nothing else but work. But after 2 days, and you do like, you can do a week of 2 weeks worth of work in those 2 days. But after those 2 days, you need the day off because you're just your brain is dead. Like you're really tired. So
Welcome to
trying to
my
balance
life.
out. What is that?
Welcome to my life.
Oh, dude. And you have family with kids, dude. Like I can't even imagine.
I
So
don't
yeah,
sleep.
I'm pretty sure Maciej can probably give a better answer because he has I think, more
No, I think
challenging.
you gave like a good structure of on how things should be done. I don't want to give anyone ideas what I do because that's really unhealthy and wrong. I'm actually happy because it's just winding down a little bit right now, so I'm gonna have a little more time to have time to actually not do anything, at least for a moment.
Nice, dude. That's
Yeah,
great.
cool.
Yeah, I think you know what you can also add to this is like just kind of a one thing, like you can always brute force your way out of, right? And by brute forcing I mean like working longer hours, sleeping less, but you can only do that much with that, right? And
Yeah,
it's kind of your secret weapon that you do once in a while. And it's good to do it once in a while just to exercise, but I do not recommend to you to rely on this as
yeah.
kind of your primary weapon, as your primary tool, because it's not healthy and long term. It's just you will die young. It doesn't work. But it's good at the same time to do it once in a while. It's just like a workout. Imagine like your working routine is a workout, so you have your kind of a standard workout that you try to do because you need to exercise certain things, and then you have like a mini exams, right? And it's good to do that stuff with the personal work. Like sometimes you schedule a weekend where you work, but on your personal work, and you work like twice as hard to get like twice as more things done and try things you haven't tried before. And then after this, you go back to your working week, just like working normal hours. And of course, they vary. It could be 10 or 12 hours, but yeah, and it's gonna feel like nothing. It's gonna feel like vacation. One thing I'm gonna say also that uh, in the past few years, I'm trying to work no more than 12 hours a day. It varies, right? It like
Yeah.
sometimes it's more. Usually it's more. It's never less, but like it's never less than 12 hours. But before I would give myself, okay, did you work like 14 and that's normal, and you start to burn out. And when
Yeah.
it's just 12, it's like it's okay. And my weekend or my holiday, it's just working normal 8 hours, and it doesn't even feel like I was working that day. I feel guilty for not even getting much done.
You're
But
like,
it's
oh, I
not.
only worked 8 hours. What the fuck? I'm lazy. Fuck.
Yeah, but that's not right. And
Yeah.
so just to, I don't want to like, don't think that you will always be able to kind of brute force your way out just by working more. Invest in working smarter, right? And like this is like the reason why I bought like more expensive computer like a few years ago, just to so I can shave off some time. And I don't know if and that's the reason why I don't want to commute to work. So if I can sleep for 1 hour, it's gonna be better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just trying to work smarter. Know that sometimes you have to brute force with more hours and more effort, but having the structure that can challenge you, but also be healthy enough that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. As long as your life, like I want to be able to enjoy what I do and like working for the next not just 10 years, but man,
Yeah.
if I can do it for next 40 years, then excellent.
Yep. I agree. Dude, what a perfect way to wrap it up. Fuck yeah. I gotta have last question. I think someone asked it. Are you interested in teaching for Learn Squared? And there was a lot of people sending arrows like, yes, 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 yes.
Nice. Well, we need to talk more about it and think more about it. It's just I'm the only way I can be good at teaching if I really just dedicate my time to it.
Yeah.
It can be like half-ass. So if
Dude,
it
guys,
would
if
be
you
awesome.
heard it,
What's that?
Vitaly is considering teaching for Learn Squared.
I know eventually I will get there. I just don't know if it's gonna be. Is it gonna be like next month or this year, next year, or in 5 years? I know eventually I would like to just kind of empty the cup and share with students and learn more from students. I think this is kind of a good way to stay young in your head, right?
Yeah, I can tell
So
you. The funniest part about teaching, I got into teaching because of you, actually, because what
wow,
you said on the podcast
damn.
with Ash. The funny thing I've discovered is when you teach, not only you learn from your own students, but you learn from yourself. You learn the mistakes and things that you're doing wrong, and you're trying to find and refine things to make them better. Because I think you're much like me and Ash. You're always starving almost for that perfection, to getting things done in the right way. And the teaching actually does that for you. When I was writing the class, Intro to Environment Painting, it was basically based on everything I've learned that I've done wrong in the previous class.
Mhm.
But also it was just like sort of like a traveling back in time into foundation, things that I have never or I haven't done for like longest time, and realizing,
Nice.
holy shit, there's so many things I forgot that I need to remind myself. And that's all that's you know, it's like removing rust from the areas that you might be using again, you know?
Yeah.
Like sharpening those edges that might be very useful, and you start to look at
Let's do it.
things in a different way. And yeah, it's great, dude. It's great.
I
We
need
should
to do
definitely
it, man.
talk.
Damn.
We should talk. All right, guys. Let's wrap it up here. We went over time quite a lot.
Oh,
Normally we go
sorry.
for an hour, but yeah, it's dude. With you you're always welcome back. So I'm gonna try to get you
Thanks.
on the stream again.
Thanks
You
so
should
much,
you
man.
should
Thanks.
join us on that Fusion 360 one on 27th. That would be fucking fun, dude, to have you there. Yeah. Before we finish, I want to give a shout out to Raja and Alex, who kindly are helping us with moderating the Art Cafe group and
Thanks,
making sure everything
guys.
is going on there really nicely. And what else? Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for being here, dude. Thanks for spending some time, finding time finally to have this conversation going. Maybe next time you're in LA, you should fucking let me know. I wanna
Oh,
get
dude,
you
for
for some
sure. Like
drinks.
I'm in LA. Yeah, we're meeting up. That's a given. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks so much, Jim, and always a pleasure. And yeah, let's do it again sometime more.
Yeah. Fuck
Awesome.
yeah. Fuck yeah, we will.
Super
All right.
pumped. Cheers.
Thanks guys for
Thanks,
coming.
dude.
Thanks for joining us
See you
live
guys.
and for listening to it. And peace out.
Bye.